Comedy in anime is hard to do sometimes, and that's because as English speakers, it's literally impossible to understand some jokes, as it's possible some of them just can't be translated into English reliably. So comedies typically tend to fall short in some aspects, especially when being translated. But the best comedies in anime tend to be those which take a less Japanese approach, which, I'm sure you've done the math by now, in turn helps Western audiences better appreciate said anime. For example, the most recent ones that come to mind are Hinamatsuri and Double Decker Doug and Krill. Enter Kaguya, Love is War, which completely ignores everything I just said and is one of the few Japanese comedies that has well-written jokes that doesn't cater to Western and English-speaking audiences. Don't believe me? Well, heading on over to Reddit, I mean, of course, it's basically a Redding darling, but take that with a grain of salt, as they also said Quintessential Quintuplets was the greatest manga ever written. Moving on, every episode seems to produce memes that aren't just your generic run-of-the-mill anime memes that you see here and there every season, and the Chika dance is pretty much viral at this point. And that's pretty cool because the Chika dance was only featured in one episode so far. Kaguya-sama is produced by A1 Pictures, who aren't just known for their delicious steak sauce, no, but also anime like Sword Art Online, Your Line April, and Anohana. It's based off the manga of the same name by Aka Akasaka and is airing on Crunchyroll with a 12-episode season. And speaking of A1 Pictures, I have to start this off with saying that they did a really great job with this anime's visual style and presentation. Backgrounds are extremely dynamic, and while I can't show any footage for fear of this channel being taken down, of course, you can see from these screenshots that they're exotic and very unique. They even go as far as to use aspect ratio bars that are not only different colors than just your standard black, but some of them even use patterns? What? Well, either way, it's cool, and it's just so fun to look at it in almost every aspect of this show. But they also use other great visual effects, like the effect when 80s VHS tapes when they'd have a bad sync, tube TV noise that's in the background that you'd see when nothing was plugged into one of them. There's just so many more great little effects they put in the backgrounds that you otherwise wouldn't notice unless you either have a great eye or someone else pointed it out for you, like myself. I've never seen quite an anime like this use so many different styles in their animation and pull it off seemingly so easily. From key animation that you'd see in those terrible ads for those waifu gacha games that makes the characters look like they're warping like a one solid piece rather than people with body parts, to animation that is extremely painstakingly detailed, like Chika's dance as the most obvious example, which I personally thought was motion capture, but it's revealed that the person who animated it was someone from KyoAni who spent a lot of time. Links to that article in the description of this video. You gotta check it out. This guy put a lot of hard work into that thing. And this is obviously, as you can tell, my favorite part of the series, as there is just so much to look at in this anime from moment to moment. It never bores you. But it's also a key factor in this anime's identity. One of the reasons why I didn't like the manga for Kaguya-sama, yes, I actually even dropped the manga pretty early on because, well, the visuals bored me and didn't really do anything to help sell the jokes or punchlines. But since this show is so dynamic and so visually rich, it really helps gives the punchline a really good boost, if I'm to be honest. And finally, we have to talk about some of this comedy here, and to be honest, it's easily in contention for Comedy of the Year already, and there's only 8 episodes out so far. And the best thing, granted, there aren't a lot of comedies out right now since we're still in the beginning of the year, and the best thing about this show is that it's still basically just Japanese-styled comedy, but none of the baggage that comes with viewing a Japanese-styled comedy. I mean, jokes are so easy to understand. And sure, while they do that really annoying thing where they repeat the punchline of the joke 500 goddamn times, how many times do you have to repeat it? It's a small price to pay for jokes that are actually really well written outside of the repeating punchlines. As an example, this space joke in episode 2 was probably the highlight of that whole episode, and hey, the jokes about sex aren't cringy either, like in episode 7 when Kaguya can't stop laughing at Chika saying wiener. So Chika tries to get her to laugh in front of the president. And while it was also very weird in other moments to hear people talk about Chika, a 16-year-old girl being in the tank class in reference to her bust size, I can let it slide as it didn't go any further into creepy pervy territory. The only issue so far with this series is that I think some people will find some parts of this show boring, and that's simply because some parts just won't be funny to you. Though this can be said for literally every show ever, not even considering if it's a comedy or not. But this is a natural thing for comedy. You can't completely relate to every joke. But thankfully, it shouldn't really be an issue. There is something for everyone in this show, at least so far, and the other issues is, well, the first 2 episodes, and while people loved it by episode 1, and that's not any too surprising, especially on Reddit, I think these 2 first episodes just fall flat on their face completely. It isn't until episode 3 that I really think the series starts to come into its own. Other than those very subjective views, I think Kaguya is an anime that most people can really get behind and really enjoy. It doesn't have that stigma of being too anime that you can't show your friends or family. It's an anime for everyone. And I think because of that single aspect, this will be this season's big comedy hit. Though I do worry for its longevity when it comes to when people will be talking about all of the other comedy anime that they saw this year. I definitely can see a comedy anime coming out and topping this fairly easily. But that doesn't matter. Get out there and give this show at least a couple episodes to see if you like it. It's not as overrated as a lot of other anime in the last year that I will not mention. If you're new here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Consider subscribing and also follow me on Twitter. If you have $1 to spare, you can support me on Patreon as well. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a nice day. Bye bye.